Seb, President Biden spent the weekend here in the U.S. defending his withdrawal decision and the evacuations underway. But he also acknowledged the devastation on the ground, saying he could push that August 31st deadline for the full removal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. From what you're seeing, how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, Christian, I think the first issue with that is going to be what is the Taliban going to say about it? I mean, they hold most of the cards at this point. They're in full control of the country and its capital, Kabul. We do know that there are talks going on at a very high level between the Taliban and the United States. We heard that directly from the spokesperson in Doha, Suhail Shaheen. But already they've been taking to the airwaves today and saying that August 31st is a red line, that an extension is just not going to happen. So at that point, the question is, what would happen next? If there's going to be a disagreement about the withdrawal, really, there aren't many options that the US has to kind of push that through. So I think it really just depends on how much can be negotiated at the high levels between the two sides.
At least half a dozen Afghans died over the weekend in a stampede of thousands of people trying to flee the country. We're seeing images of babies being handed over to military personnel over barbed wire on top of the footage of people falling off military aircraft. Can you describe to us what that desperation feels like there?
Well, I think there's two sides to it. I mean, we were inside the airport where there's actually a lot more of a kind of orderly dynamic. There are people who've basically been assigned flights who are waiting for those flights to depart. We saw a lot of planes arriving and taking off. It does seem to be a different kind of scene to what we witnessed in those first few days. We spoke to some of the people who were there. I mean, they've been waiting a long time. They've obviously been through a tremendous amount to actually get into the airport. But once they were in, they were feeling that they'd essentially reached safety to some degree. They were almost guaranteed that they would be getting out of there. But it's that crush outside that that's really the worst aspect of it all. The thousands of people, that's where you're hearing about these deaths that have occurred, and the sense of desperation there it couldn't be higher. I mean, there is a short window here that is closing rapidly, and you can feel the tension rising as that clock ticks towards August 31st. It's something that everyone is very focused on. For those Afghans trying to get out of the country, definitely a rising sense of panic is what we're kind of feeling here.
And Seb, you were in Doha last week as Afghans were arriving. Now you're in Kabul seeing the other side. Are the US and NATO partners doing enough to get people out?
I think it depends which people we're talking about. I mean, there has been a lot of US citizens who've left. There have been SIV applicants, those who are qualified for this special immigrant visa program. A lot of people have left. But in terms of doing enough, I mean, this is not what the plan was. They did not anticipate that there would, be this withdrawal to the airport. Just the pace of how that changed, those facts on the ground, how the US and international forces just had to completely pivot and exit from the places that they would be expecting to use to process some of these people. I mean, the people are trying to leave now without any of that infrastructure around them. So in terms of whether the US and NATO could do more, I mean, they really can't do very much at all to help the people on the other side. There are people that feel abandoned and betrayed. There's people who we've spoken to who've worked for US companies, NGOs, who really feel like they're now up against it. The odds are stacked against them. There is a very short window that's closing very fast. It's been chaos for days, and it's really not improving a great deal on the outside. So I think there's a lot of people here that would say that the international community hasn't really done enough to help them.
Seb Walker, thank you.